Welcome to the raw and uncensored Ambitchious podcast. During our time here together, I will be instilling all of the strength, power, and determination you will need to use the very stones thrown at you to build your ultimate empire. We will redefine the word bitch from the derogatory to the acronym being in total control of herself. So let's adjust our crowns and prepare to live life ambitiously. Yeah, here I am, the original HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. And on this episode of the Ambitchious podcast, we have an amazing woman who is also one of my Ambitchious business mentorship clients. Her name is Becky Nolan. This was an amazing podcast. She schooled me. There were so many things that I learned. And I know that if you or someone you know has been diagnosed with Lyme's disease, this is going to absolutely change your life. So a little bit about Becky before we get into the podcast itself. Becky is more than just a registered nurse and certified health coach. She's actually a beacon of hope for those battling Lyme disease. As the owner of September Farm Wellness, Becky is on a mission to raise awareness about Lyme disease prevention and support those at all stages of their Lyme disease journey, drawing from her own 12-year journey, that's right, 12-year journey with the illness. With firsthand experience, she understands the isolation and uncertainty that accompany the condition, which fuels her dedication to helping others navigate the passion to remission. At September Farm Wellness, Becky employs a multifaceted approach, leveraging her expertise and personal journey to guide individuals with long-term Lyme disease towards healing. As a mother, grandmother, and small farm owner in southern New Hampshire, Becky embodies resilience and compassion to empowerment and support those battling Lyme disease. Listen, you don't have to have Lyme to get so much inspiration and knowledge from this podcast. So I urge you to listen, because you never know if you or someone that you love is going to someday have their own journey with Lyme. So without further ado, let's get into it with the incredible Becky Nolan. Becky, thank you so much for being here. I am pumped for all of the Ambitchious listeners from all across the globe to learn all about Lyme and how you put yours into remission and how you can help them. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, honey.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure. I love this woman so much. She is tenacious and determined and so smart. And honestly, you are a gift to the world, because not a lot of people know about Lyme. And you, just before we even came down to our podcast recording studio, we were up in the kitchen just having a cup of coffee. Well, you were having your mushroom tea, because you're a good girl, not a caffeine psychopath like I am. And she was schooling me on Lyme even before we got down here. So I can only imagine what you're going to do for me and all the listeners out there. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for that introduction.
Oh, baby.
You're so kind.
No, I mean, you know me, I don't talk shit. I'm the real deal. Like, I love you. Like, pageant girls love laxatives, because I have never been known to do that to myself before. All right. So let's get into this.
All right.
All right. So when we first started working together and we started doing mentorship together, and you told me about how you yourself put single-handedly your own Lyme into remission, I was like blown away, because I have so many people in my life, over the last 10, 15 years who have come to me, who have been gaslit by medical professionals that they don't have Lyme, that they're just out of their minds. They put them on antidepressants instead. So I've seen that a lot. I've also seen a lot of clients and friends over the years who have been diagnosed with Lyme, but the world of medicine has really failed them in a lot of ways. And I know that you're crunchy and granola-y like me. And you want to do everything as holistic as possible. I also know for a fact that you're very much in tune with nature and plants and, letting food be medicine and all that. So I am I'm excited for this. So let's start at the very beginning, which is a very good place to start, which is when you were actually going through your sickness. And that was 14 years ago now?
12 years ago. So
12 years ago. Oh my God. All right. Let's talk about where you were at in your life and what you were going through, what you were feeling, and then we can just, go down,
from there.
follow the breadcrumbs,
All
man.
right.
So take me through it.
So 12 years ago, our family was expanding. So we had welcomed our third daughter.
Wow.
And so in 2011, our family was growing. So we were starting to look for a bigger house. And we went to a property. We were walking around the property, my husband and I, and we got into the car after doing our little tour. And I was wearing sandals, and I typically have pale skin anyways, even in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at my feet and I noticed these little specks on my feet. And at first I thought it was dirt. So, I just kind of like
brushed it off,
but it was moving. So I jumped out of the car, took off my sandals, brushed off my feet. There were ticks, and they were tiny, tiny ticks. They were the size of probably a poppy seed.
Wow.
So
almost like undetectable to the human eye.
And if my skin wasn't as light as it was,
I would never saw it.
Have the sandals on, then I would have just never known they were there.
Now, is the property that you were walking on the property that you live now?
No.
Okay.
It's not.
Interesting. I was like,
it's not.
Okay. Okay.
So, I just brushed them off, got in the car, didn't really think anything of it.
No big deal.
Until 2 weeks later, I was in the kitchen with my husband talking, and all of a sudden it just felt like my energy just drained out
instantly.
Absolutely instantly. And he just saw the look on my face, and he was like, are you okay? And I said, I'm really not. Like, I really feel like everything just like drained out of me to the point that I struggled to get from that point up to my bed, up the stairs.
Holy shit.
Legs were so weak. It was just so profound.
Wow.
Like the change that happened.
And he noticed it right away. It was like an energetic shift.
It was like somebody pulled my plug.
Wow.
Basically.
So you get upstairs, you go to sleep.
Go to sleep for 3 days.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
3 days. So.
And let me backtrack for a second. So you never saw that telltale bullseye red mark, because that's what they say. They say, unless you saw the red mark,
it doesn't happen. And that bullseye rash only shows up in about half of the Lyme infection.
Okay, so you're schooling me right now, because I thought, no way you have Lyme unless you see that bullseye red mark.
And if you do have that bullseye, like what happens if you have that bullseye, like if you get bit on your scalp?
Right.
And
You're never going to see that.
Or it's on your back. You might never see it there.
Interesting.
So if if it's on a place that isn't visible,
right,
it could be there.
But you never may see it. Okay. So only 50% on average. People see the bullseye red mark. That's the telltale.
That is.
I got bit by this certain tick.
Yeah. And that happened with my oldest daughter was bit on her leg, and she did get the bullseye rash.
Wow.
She did get the antibiotics right away.
Good.
And
that was it.
Didn't have any symptoms. So
it's when you get bit and then the symptoms just go untreated. No one knows about it. Yeah. And you were just like living your life, bopping around, doing your Becky stuff.
I was, I would do marathons and triathlons. I was extremely active.
Wow.
I was working as a nurse in a Boston hospital. So, I was living, a very, very athletic and vibrant life, and going from that to now being in bed
for 3 days. So after the 3 days bed situation, were you like, what the fuck is happening?
What is going on?
Yeah.
Literally.
So what was the next step? What was the next step after that bed situation?
I went to
By the way, bed for 3 days right now sounds so good.
It kind of does, like
just not with the Lyme, not with the Lyme.
The symptoms, maybe like a nice cup of tea. And
that would be amazing. Like a good book.
Netflix.
No, you were passed out, knocked out.
Knocked out. Had a low-grade fever, had headache, could barely make it down to the, to the bathroom.
And for everyone that deals with Lyme, it presents itself in many different ways. So what you're saying is that is your experience with your Lyme.
It is.
But when we're going to get into that, which I'm really excited about, because I think knowledge is power. So the more people that understand, like, hey, maybe I don't have the flu in the summertime. Maybe I got bit by a tick because I was out, rolling around in the grass. Who knows, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so 3 days later, you're like,
okay,
what's going on here?
So I went to my doctor.
Okay.
And, went through my symptoms, what was going on with me. It took every ounce of energy to get to the doctors.
Wow.
Just to get even into the car. It was like, I felt like my body was being crushed. So I got to the doctors, and kind of ran through my symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
She asked me if I saw bullseye rash. I told her about the tick encounter 2 weeks before as well.
And it's good that you kind of like put those two things together because I don't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday. Never mind like 2 weeks ago. I remember these ticks on my feet. Yeah.
I remember having to brush these things off.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I mentioned I had a tick encounter. It's been 2 weeks. I have these symptoms now. I think I have Lyme disease. And her response was,
no, wait a minute. You said, I think I have Lyme.
I think I have Lyme.
And she was like, no, bitch.
No, you don't.
Why though? Why did she say that?
Because I didn't have the
bullseye rash.
And because she attributed my symptoms to more of like a summer bug.
Okay.
Summer
You
virus.
just have a little virus in the summertime.
So go back to bed,
Yeah.
Hydrate.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
Have some soup.
I even asked for, I'm like, can you just give me the 2 weeks of like prophylactic antibiotics just to be sure? And she absolutely refused.
So we're not going to go back to that, but if she would have given you those at that moment, do you think
we wouldn't be sitting here today?
But I'm glad she didn't.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really crazy.
No,
but I'm glad she did it because you wouldn't be here speaking victory into people, and giving them the knowledge that they need, and doing what you do now for your work.
Yeah,
it's amazing. See how everything happens for a reason, man.
It does.
It really does.
So
okay, so you're like, nope, you're not giving me the antibiotics. So what did you do after that?
Went back to bed.
I love you. And so you go back to bed. You have 2 small children.
Three.
Oh, because you just had your third.
Yeah, I had one under 1.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So think of like all that, and you're like, I can't get out of bed. I can't feed my family. I can't do the laundry. I can't do all the things that we do as women all the time and work.
It was so hard just to go from being such an active person. I was exercising all the time.
Yeah.
I took pride in being a strong, vibrant
in
person.
shape, ate healthy, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. And now I am in bed.
Wow. And how long did this go on for?
This went on for 4 years.
Shut your mouth. Okay. So paint the picture for me. So like you would get these like maybe little bursts of energy where you'd have to force yourself to do things. You would do just enough.
Yeah.
And then you'd crash again. So it was like these peaks and valleys. There was no homeostasis in your life.
There was none. And then I was my worst enemy at the time, I think, because I was so used to being active and being an athlete, and I was in the Army.
Would you force yourself to do things?
I would force myself.
That's so
to
not
do
like
things.
us, Becky.
I know. Just shove it down and just
get on with it. Get on with it. So you would force yourself to live like the old way, which would probably burn you out even more. So the highs and the lows were even deeper and higher. Wow. And so in those 4 years where you had no diagnoses, did you think you were going crazy town?
Oh, I did. I was going,
what was your mental health like?
My mental health was awful.
Wow.
I was really angry at myself, at my body for failing and not having any way to correct it.
Yeah.
So
you felt powerless.
I felt absolutely powerless. I felt crazy. I kept going to the doctors because my symptoms were changing over time. It started out like as the summer virus type. But then it quickly went to GI symptoms. So I dropped 20 pounds.
So you couldn't eat.
I couldn't
Your
eat.
stomach was always whacked out.
Yeah, my stomach was completely, upside down.
Did you have diarrhea, nausea? Like
just
what?
Like a lack of appetite and just like nothing, just nothing.
And you're already like a very small person.
Yeah, and I couldn't really afford to lose the 20 pounds.
Right. I'm saying to you, like, I couldn't only imagine if you were 20 pounds lighter than you are now, you must have looked like emaciated. Wow. Yeah. So then still you were like, this is just, this is my new normal.
This is what I need to do.
So when did you get to the point where you were like, hit that wall where you're like, I have to take matters into my own hands. Like, I'm a smart bitch. I can do this myself. Or were you not even thinking that?
At the time I wasn't. And it wasn't until, so we were looking for a new house. And so 4 years later, we found a bigger house in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And during that move, it just about killed me just because I had
You told me this story. Tell the moving story because it's crazy.
We, of course, hired a moving van. And the only thing that I packed up our house very, very quickly because our house that we sold super fast. So we needed to get out. Took every ounce of, I don't even know where I pulled energy from to pack up, get everything out.
3 kids.
3 kids, chickens, ducks, dog. No, we
Not
didn't
the
have a dog at the
chickens
time.
and the
But
ducks.
yeah, we had the chickens
How did
and
you
the
move
ducks.
them, little bastards? Do you have a special like little thing that you put them in?
And like a dog crate.
Yeah.
So we just put them in there, pack them all
Menagerie,
up,
Dr. Doolittle over
oh
here.
my goodness. So yeah, so everything.
So you put everybody in everybody's in the van.
Yeah,
you're going to New Hampshire.
So I was standing outside the house, and my job was just to stand by the moving van.
Yeah, tell them this goes here, that goes there. Yeah.
And I just felt like at that moment, it was kind of like the first time I had stayed still long enough to realize I'm like, I have nothing. I'm like a hollow person.
You're depleted.
Completely depleted.
Wow.
And it felt like I was just the skin covering my body.
Oh.
And that was it.
God, I have chills all over my body because I have not had Lyme, but I've had similar situations in my life where I've felt that feeling and it feels so helpless.
Yeah. And it was in November. I was standing in a bunch of, fallen leaves. So I could just almost imagine my skin just cracking, like the leaves and falling to the ground.
Yeah.
And like, there's just nothing left.
And was your husband like, Becky, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah.
He's like, dude, what's up?
He was like, what's up? It's hard. I know it's really hard for people to understand what it feels like to have Lyme disease, even people that are close to you. And I know his lack of understanding came from not wanting me to be sick.
Of course. So, I mean, he loves you. He doesn't want you to be sick.
Yeah. So.
And they can't put themselves inside your body. So no one can really understand what you feel like.
So it can be really, really frustrating. I know for people who are family members of loved ones of people with Lyme disease, because you can look on the outside like you're not
totally
sick.
normal.
And I've had many, many people say like, but you don't look sick. It's like, well, I'm dying inside.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No one can go in your body and really see what's really going on. I think that's such an awesome point that you just made, where it's like a lot of people around you who love you, they don't even know how to support you.
They don't.
Like if you had cancer, they would be like, oh, can I bring you food? Can I take you to your oncology appointments? Can I go to treatment with you? But when you have Lyme or these silent type of diseases, I think it's difficult, obviously, for the person that's sick, but I think it's so confusing and disempowering and overwhelming for the people around you who love you. They don't know how to support. They don't know how to support you.
They really don't. It's really hard.
Can I ask if for the people out there, because I know there's going to be so many people who are like either diagnosed with Lyme or maybe this is going to make them get out there and work with the right people. But how would you tell people that maybe are going to be supporting someone with Lyme, or the people who already have Lyme, to tell the people around them how to support them? How would you have at that moment wanted to be best supported? Or do you not even have an answer to that question?
I think it really depends on like the point in my journey, because I do talk a lot about being on a Lyme journey.
Yes.
So my Lyme journey kind of is the 12 years that I've had Lyme disease. And things, at different points in that journey, I would have like different things would have helped. So I think before I was diagnosed, just to have someone listen and validate what was going on, because in the medical community, I was hearing so much about how, like, we don't know what's the matter with you. Like, it could be this, it could be that, but it's not that. Like, they do the testing. They thought I had lupus at one point. They thought I had some sort of autoimmune thing at some point.
Yes.
So just, I think in that part of my journey, it would have really been helpful to just have someone to listen and just validate. Fix. And it's like, I just need to, just feel supported and
move the energy. Sometimes you just need to like vent a little bit
and just vent. Yeah.
Where I don't know how your husband is, but as soon as like something happens in my life, Matt goes to like fix it mode. He's like, I have to fix. And I was like, dude, you don't have to fix this. I just literally want you to stare at me blank on the couch and let me cry and let me just say all the things I want to say and then just give me a hug and like, we're all going to move on with our lives.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need that.
You just do. And you just need someone, just someone to listen. And in different places along my journey, it might have been nice to have like some help, just so I could recover
with
some
your
of
kids,
my energy,
with food, with So pretty much, someone with Lyme, you would treat them the same way as someone who had cancer in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
right.
So just be there and support them.
But isn't it funny how like cancer has one energy and then Lyme is like this other stigma? Like, you look fine, you're fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
Even though neurologically, physically, emotionally, mentally, all these things are going on that no one can see. So you're literally suffering in silence a lot.
It is. And I think with Lyme disease, because a lot of the symptoms are symptoms that are, you have to describe them to a practitioner.
Yes.
It's not something that you can physically see on a scan, or, you can see a broken bone, which is more objective. So
of course.
A lot of the Lyme symptoms are more subjective.
Yeah.
So it's me describing, I have a headache, I have this neck pain, I have low-grade fevers, which you can kind of, see, but they can also be passed off as like a virus or something like that.
Wow.
So a lot of the symptoms that I first had were subjective, where it was just, I was describing.
It was a feeling.
It was like, this is how I feel. So, practitioners couldn't really see what I was feeling. And it wasn't until I moved to New Hampshire after, feeling like I was completely depleted and completely defeated at the same time. And there was one morning where I threw back the covers and my legs were completely covered with bruises.
No.
Hundreds of bruises.
What?
Yeah.
Where they just came out of nowhere?
Just came out overnight.
Holy
they looked
shit.
like thumbprints all over my legs.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so scary. So, and my first reaction was like, now what? Like, what is this now?
Yes.
So,
holy shit. You must feel like you were going crazy.
I was going, yeah.
And there's no rhyme or reason to, because before we were on the podcast, you were saying how Lyme just presents itself so different in everyone. So there's no like, here's a list of all the things that you're going to go through when you have Lyme.
And it's impossible to, even Lyme itself has 40 different variants.
Whoa.
And
that we know of, right?
That we know of.
More.
There probably are more.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the bruising was actually not from Lyme. It was from one of the co-infections.
Yeah.
So it was from Bartonella.
Oh my gosh.
So I had, eventually when I went through a process of being diagnosed with different, I can get into that a little bit.
Yeah,
too,
I want to hear all about. I want all the goods. I want all the goods.
So I went to my primary care physician. So now I'm in a new state, and I had to get a new doctor.
Yes.
So I went to the doctor.
Like a primary care.
Just a primary care. So I'm like, okay, I've got bruises all over myself. Like, what is going on?
And no one hit me with a stick, and no one punched me.
And exactly. And that was their first. They were like, well, we weren't beaten up by someone.
Yeah.
So like, what is going on? So they're like, what's your diagnosis? Because I went through the list of things that I had been dealing with for the last 4 years. And I'm like,
I have none.
I'd have none.
Wow.
So I'm like,
4 years you suffered like this.
Nothing wrong with me.
And the doctor was like,
like maybe something's wrong with
now,
you.
was your general practitioner, that person that you met, the new doctor, did they say you're crazy, or did they say like, dude, we have a problem here?
We have a problem.
Thank God.
Thank goodness that I actually moved to, where we did, and went to this new practitioner. So the first practitioner that I went to when I first got bit did an ELISA test, which is
what is that?
So it's there's a two-tiered test that people with Lyme disease, will be tested with. So the ELISA is the first one. It is detecting immune response from the spirochetes from the Lyme.
Excuse me? The parakeets?
The spirochetes, which are the little corkscrew shaped bacteria. So that's the specific type of bacteria.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
So so the tick bites you. It injects this.
That's like,
whatever what it's called.
Spirochetes.
Okay. And then they go into your body and then they burrow into different parts.
They can. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's what I've heard. Like a lot of people say, oh, I have it like this in my brain or whatever. Okay. All right. Keep going.
It does, because it doesn't stay in your bloodstream for very long. So there's no way to do like a serological or blood test to really look for the spirochetes themselves.
Okay.
So the testing that we have right now is not great.
So it's not really doing its job.
It's not really doing its job because it's detecting an immune response.
So inflammation from
So
what
you're
happens?
actually like immune globulins, which are your immune system's reaction to certain things. So it's not actually testing for Lyme disease. It's testing for your body's reaction. But then Lyme also can suppress your immune system.
No big deal.
No big deal. So, So this first test that they give you is the ELISA test, and it's about 50% accurate.
Jeez.
So it's like, might as well just flip a coin.
Yeah. Yeah, you do, you don't. Okay.
So the second tier is a Western blot, which is also detecting the your immune response as well, but it's more sensitive.
And do they do it with blood?
They do that with blood
So
as
they
well.
draw your blood.
Mhm.
They do this blot test.
They do the Western blot.
Okay.
And then that one's a little bit more sensitive. So, but it's also testing for your immune response, not for the Lyme itself.
Wow.
So it really just depends on how your body responds to.
So your body could have just been like fighting it without even having these responses, and nothing would have showed up on either test.
Yeah. And then also over time, the bacteria goes out of your bloodstream, starts to go into deeper places in your body, into your tissues, into cartilage, where your blood isn't, there's really no blood in your cartilage.
Right.
So it's outside of your circulatory
So that's
system.
why people say like, oh, I have Lyme's. I have like almost like rheumatoid arthritis.
Mhm.
So it can manifest and put itself out there almost as like other immune system issues. So
Mhm.
like I have rheumatoid arthritis, or I have celiac, or I have lupus or whatever. And it's not that. It's all these what do you call them?
Co-infections.
Co-infections.
Mhm.
Holy shit, man.
So,
Dude, we're all living on a wing and a prayer over here, sister.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. So then, okay, so you got those tests. And
Mhm.
what did those tests show you?
So the doctor that I saw after I had the bruising on my legs gave me the Western blot test.
Mhm.
It came back positive for an old Lyme infection.
Old
Lyme infection.
Not a new.
An old.
Like a 4-year-old one.
Yeah, probably 4 years old.
Whoa.
So.
And so when that happened, did you feel like, even though you're like, no one wants Lyme disease,
Mhm.
were you like, thank you, Jesus? Like, now I actually know I'm not fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of, the validation that I was looking for, because up until that point, I was just, kind of like swinging in the dark at what could this be?
And did you ever feel like at any point in your journey before you were actually diagnosed properly, did you ever feel like maybe I'm just fucking crazy?
Mhm. Yeah.
You had those moments?
I did. I definitely did.
Just so you know, when you, and anybody out there that's listening, when you think that you're crazy, you're definitely not crazy, because crazy people don't know that they're crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
Just saying.
Good words to live by.
Yeah, just saying. So if you're like, damn, am I going nuts?
Like,
no
nuts.
fucking crazy person's like, maybe I'm crazy today. No, they're like, I'm living my best fucking life over here.
That's definitely a good point.
Yeah. So just FYI to anyone out there that feels that way, you're fine. So then from there, what happened? So you got diagnosed, and did they put you on a round of medication? Like, what was the next step?
So they put me on a very strong antibiotic, and I was happy to take it because I felt like I had lost 4 years of this battle.
And you're like me. You're like, I don't want any Western medicine in my body unless like it is like life or death.
Yeah. So it was, for me, it was life or death. It was like, this is what I need to do in order to recover from this.
Did you feel good right away, or no?
No. There's more to this story.
I already know the story. So like, this is like, I already know, but like, I want you guys to know. So, okay. So you take this thing, you're like, shit, I still don't feel great.
Mhm.
Now what?
So not only did I not feel great, my body was so weak at the time that the antibiotics actually just crushed my system.
Oh, I'm sure.
Even further. So I ended up.
Because that's the thing about antibiotics people don't understand. Because I think like, especially like our generation, like I just remember drinking that pink bubble gum shit when I was a little kid. Like I thought it was candy. I was like, this is dope. I love when my ears hurt and I can take this thing. But it kills your immune system over time. And then, it's not like it kills everything. So people don't understand that it's not like the antibiotics going in going, oh, here's the Lyme, let's just take this out. No, it fucking decimates everything in your body.
The good and the bad.
Absolutely.
And everything in between.
Wow.
So the antibiotics crushed my system so severely that I actually shut down my entire digestive system.
Oh my God.
So
and you already had problems with your digestion before, hence the 20-pound weight loss because you weren't eating. So then what happened?
So my whole system was so weak that it couldn't handle that strong of antibiotic.
Gosh.
So I ended up in Boston Hospital for 2 weeks.
Oh my Lord.
And then it gets better.
Keep going. I'm here for it.
All right.
Go.
They said I don't have Lyme disease.
Fuck you. Fuck you. No.
Yes. So
why didn't I remember this part of the story?
Maybe I didn't tell you this
Maybe
part.
I didn't.
I was just holding.
Okay, I'm learning some more things about Becky today. So they were like, "Yo, you don't have just JK, just kidding," and you were like,
what is going on?"
How did you feel in that moment?
I felt absolutely defeated.
Did you want to just go fucking postal on everybody? Because I would have just started throwing shit around my hospital room.
And I was so sick of that. My digestive system was done.
Wow.
I was dizzy. I had vertigo.
Oh my God, man.
Like my body was just absolutely trashed.
So when they said this to you, then what did they say it was then?
They thought it was autoimmune. They thought it was lupus. They thought it was this. They thought it was that. I actually, at the time too, when I was in the hospital, started to develop bullseye rashes, which is a thing.
So you can get bullseye rashes like after the fact.
After the fact. So when the Lyme disease can disseminate, it can disseminate into your skin. And then, so I had 6 bullseye rashes on me when I was in the hospital.
You're like, well, here they are.
Yeah. So
I didn't have them 4 years ago, but now I got them.
Now here they are.
Damn.
With a vengeance. So,
wow.
So when they biopsied them, they didn't know what they were. I went to a rheumatologist because they were like, maybe it's lupus, maybe it's autoimmune. The rheumatologist was like, well, I don't really know what it is. So maybe it's in your head. So thanks for gaslighting me, motherfuckers. But this is the thing that pisses me off about the medical community. And listen, some of my best friends are some of the biggest doctors in the world, and I love them, and what they do is amazing. But just because you don't know what it is, don't say like it's in your head. Fuck you. Yeah.
Like, I don't know what can be more abusive than that. Like, narcissism and gaslighting to me is like top tier bullshit. So for a doctor who's supposed to be in charge and they took the Hippocratic oath to do no harm, like, what's more harmful than telling someone who's going through absolute hell that they're crazy and this is all in their head? No, thank you. So were you like, holy shit, I'm crazy again? Or were you like, okay, fuck this, I'm taking matters into my own hand? Like, so when did you get to that place?
After I was discharged from the hospital with a diagnosis of fatigue.
Oh, chronic fatigue syndrome?
Chronic fatigue.
Ooh, yes. That and friggin' what's the other thing? Fibromyalgia are the 2 biggest doctor things where they're like, well, I don't know what it is, so I'm just going to tell you it's fibromyalgia or it's chronic fatigue syndrome. Fuck you.
So they're like, go to bed.
I've been in bed for 4 years.
I've been in bed too much. So
absolutely.
So yeah.
So then were you like, okay, I'm a smart bitch. I'm a sovereign, autonomous woman. I know things. I can do this myself.
It was at that point when I first got out of the hospital, I was at my lowest. I was like, that was my rock bottom. So, and I was so afraid. I didn't have a diagnosis. I had a digestive system that was trashed, and I had a body that was trashed, and still have, family that was relying on me.
Yeah. 3 kids.
Yeah.
Now, were you working still at the time?
I was.
Shut up. You were still in nursing.
Yes.
How was that as a medical professional being treated like that by other medical professionals? Was that
horrible.
like
it was, yeah.
Because you have a very different experience than most like lay non-medical people, right?
Yeah.
So here you are, this nurse who's a caregiver, who's like loving and kind and taking care of all the patients and and then you go in and you're literally treated like total trash.
Yeah.
That must have like like, whoa, this is system is flawed as fuck.
It is. And even as a nurse, like in the healthcare industry, you really see the other side of healthcare. And it really is like, I really struggled being a nurse at times because it was just, I really wanted to help people to feel better, to get their health back.
Right.
Where I was in nursing, it was more, let's give them medication, let's give them pills.
Yeah.
Like, I would give people like 20 pills in the morning, and I'm like, how does this make you feel better?
Right.
And it doesn't.
And as you know, and we're going to get to that, but as you know, as what you do now as a coach, you know that 98% of the shit that people are dealing with can be fixed by just like lifestyle change and like food change and like maybe not drinking, hard alcohol every day
and all the processed
and all the processed shit, the GMO and all. Yeah.
And that's really how I got to where I am today.
Oh my God. So sometimes it has to get so blatantly in your face. Like, that's how God works, right? Like, that's how the universe works. It's like, oh, I'm going to show you that this is so fucking blatant that you have no choice but to like remove yourself and then shift the narrative, which is what you were doing. So tell everybody how you went from this person in the hospital that was being gaslit to this like incredible coach, and how you fixed your own shit. Because that to me is like the best part of the story.
Okay. So after I got out of the hospital, I was at my lowest of low, because now was confused about my diagnosis.
Yeah.
I didn't really have
You're
one.
almost back to square one.
Square one and
Mhm.
worse, because now I'm like square -5
Yeah.
because I have a body that's even worse than when I, started the antibiotics.
Yeah.
So I, at that point, it was just, I remember just being so hopeless and
Mhm.
helpless.
Mhm.
And at that moment, I was always looking outward for validation, outward for diagnosis,
Right.
outward for help.
Yeah.
And I realized that I'm like, nobody's coming to save me.
No.
Nobody's coming to save me.
Which is the epitome of being ambitious, by the way, right?
Yeah, that's
It's
it.
like
That's what you say all
no
the time.
victim mentality. Like everything I need is within
Mhm.
us. Like, you're a big, like me, you're with the intuition and like all that stuff. I don't think that God just, or the universe just gives you like this faulty fucking body just to deal with. Like
Mhm.
we have everything inside of us to heal ourselves. We just have to do the work, right?
Yes.
So you're like, okay, no victim mentality.
Yeah. Here
What
we
are
go.
what are we gonna do? So what did you do? Did you just like delve into your own learning?
Well, up until that point, I was really not being kind to my body. So I think that was the first shift.
Right, because you were pushing yourself
I was
and you're
pushing
trying to work
myself.
out still, and you're
Mhm.
trying to be the runner,
everything for
yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
So it was a major shift just to, figure out and listen to what my body needed at the time.
That's a groundbreaking idea for a lot of
I know.
people.
Yeah, it
right.
is.
So you went from like totally abusing yourself in a lot of ways.
Basically, yeah. I
to
was my
own worst.
own worst. I was not kind to myself at all.
And in what, just for the listeners, in what ways were you not being kind to yourself? So like, what was your internal dialogue at that point?
Because I was, I was in the Army. I went through boot camp. I was
You're such a badass. You're such a fucking badass, dude.
I was a triathlete. I was ran long distance. So
Mhm.
I could deal with a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So I was able to kind of shove a lot of that pain to the side.
Yeah, because we have high
And
pain thresholds.
Very high.
By the way,
Yeah.
I learned, someone told me, a healer once, because I was like, oh, I have a really high pain threshold. And she
Mhm.
looked at me and she goes, honey, that's not something to brag about.
No, it's not.
It's not a badge of honor. That's actually called trauma.
Yes. And
But we didn't.
And it can manifest as abuse to yourself.
100%. Oh,
So-
honey, I'm my big
Yeah.
worst offender. Believe me. I'm just like you. I'm like, oh, I can take the pain. And it's like, why should we have to?
But yeah. So I lived years. And because I wasn't getting validation from the medical community, and it was really difficult for people around me to even know how to support me or what to do,
Right.
because I didn't have the answers. So how would they be able to help?
Yeah. Because they're
So-
smarter than me. Because they went to medical school and, you
And
know,
that's, yeah.
not always true.
Mhm.
Not always true.
Not always true.
So you gave yourself grace.
Mhm.
You said, I'm going to start loving myself. I'm going to
Yeah.
start giving myself time to rest, to heal,
Mhm.
to not beat myself up.
Yeah.
And just to be.
Yeah.
So that was your first step.
Yes.
Which is hard for a lot of people.
It was a hard shift because I was so used to doing everything for everyone.
Yeah. And that's the
And
groove
keeping
part of your
my-
brain.
yeah,
Right.
and
Saying
keeping-
you got to do it all. You got to do it all. Yeah.
I want
Wow.
it, but that was what I desired, was to be the mom that did it all.
Yeah.
And
Don't we all though? Where does it get us though?
Yeah.
Not very far. We think though, but I also have had these conversations lately with a lot of different women in my life where they think that by doing it all, that's what gives them their worth.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like that too? Because I feel like that too. It's like, if I don't do, I'm not worthy.
I'm not worthy. Like if I'm sitting in bed, like what good am I?
Oh my God, are you in my fucking head, Becky? How dare you rest? How dare you sit? That's terrible.
It is. Yeah.
But sometimes that's the medicine.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're not gaining our self-worth from doing things. So that was check number one.
Mhm.
Then what was the next step?
So it was really, so in my coaching practice, I talk a lot about the intuitive health.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that is really listening to your body. And that
is very foreign to people though.
I was not doing that. And it is kind of ingrained in us. Like, I think we're one of the few cultures that we don't believe that we can heal ourselves.
Which is so not true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and our bodies communicate with us all the time. They send us signals all the time. It sends you a signal that you're hungry, so you'll eat.
Or sometimes you don't. So this is the thing too, right? Is like our bodies have that like deep seated, rooted wisdom,
Mhm.
but then we as humans, we shut that
Turn it
off.
off.
And then
Yeah.
if you do that for so long, then your body's like, well, she doesn't listen to me. So why should I even send her these signals?
It's like, why do I spend the energy? Like, why do I waste my time?
Yeah.
So-
Yes. So you started
So
listening to the little voice inside.
Yeah, the little clues that my body was giving me. And that really started to shift my health. You know, I still didn't have the diagnosis. I still didn't have the clear thing that, you know, that I was battling against or trying to heal from.
Right. But I love that. That's badass of you, because you're like, fuck it, I don't even need a diagnosis.
No, and I didn't. And that was my first shift. My first major shift was like, I don't, you know, like at this point, like I don't need to chase this any longer. Yeah. Like there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to get to the bottom.
I'm going to get to the bottom of it eventually. But right now my body needs me.
Wow. Wow. That's like, I have chills all over my body, because we just, as women, we've had this so deprogrammed in our lives. Like thousands of years ago, like even women, you know, in matriarchal tribes, we would like know just by like feeling where the water was, where the food was, where the game was to hunt. And then slowly over time, that patriarchal energy just kind of, you know, beat it out of us. Yeah. And as, you know, having, even, we talk about this all the time, but like having the witch wound, like you better not be too powerful, better not be too strong, because people are going to talk bad about you, or they're going to besmirch you, or even like during, you know, burning times, they would fucking burn you at the stake and take all your shit. Yeah. And that's ingrained in us as women. Right. So we have to always go to the doctor, has to tell us what's wrong with us.
We have to have the validation.
Yeah. And you were like, fuck it, I don't need this anymore.
I don't need this.
That's powerful.
Chasing for 4 years and getting nowhere.
So powerful. Yeah. So this is so inspirational. Okay. So then you were like, fuck it, I don't need the validation. I'm just going to figure this out on my own. Yeah. And then what happened?
So then I completely changed my nutrition, like really. So my intuitive health practice is really based in like making sure I have enough sleep, making sure that I'm resting, which I wasn't doing before, eating, using nutrition as food and not just to fill myself up. And particularly when you're not feeling well, you can really get into the like the comfort food.
Yeah, you're like I just want I just want pasta with butter.
Like I felt so bad. Like nobody, you know, I was not getting validation from anyone. I was super sick.
So what were you doing? What was your like go-to comfort food? There had to be a couple things that we could.
Like
what would you love?
Cream or
okay, so you'd have the sugar,
like the
ice
sugar,
cream,
definitely. Yeah, something like that. So
and which feeds
the Lyme?
The Lyme. Well, the Lyme's like,
my disease.
Give us ice cream. And you're like,
okay.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel better.
For the moment.
Yeah. And it, And then after, like even now, if I eat sugar, it, you know, I can definitely, it definitely.
Do you get like brain fog? Do you get like lethargic?
Brain fog. I get headachy. Like I think it triggers a lot of inflammation in me. So.
So even though it tastes good in your mouth, you're like, it's not worth what it's going to do to my body. So I'm not even going to do it. Yeah.
And I do go through times where I'm like very, very, like I won't have any sugar. Yeah. And then I'll kind of like, man, just have a little. And then I'm like, nope.
When you did A28P and you had no sugar whatsoever, did you feel like $1 million?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because it takes all the inflammation out.
Yep. Totally took the inflammation out. Like I was thinking so clear, and I didn't really do A2AP for like the
weight loss.
The release, but it was more just eating clean and just, you know, so it got rid of a lot of inflammation.
That's awesome.
So I was thinking really clear.
So when you eat intuitively, you go by like, okay, I know that I need like micronutrients, not just macronutrients, but I need the micronutrients. So like you think of like, what would be like an intuitive like meal for you that you like is a go-to thing for you?
So I've found over time that
what works for you,
like a high protein, like a lean protein and vegetables. Like if I am eating high protein and vegetables, then
you're amazing.
That's
And you're a homestead and hoe, like me. So you have your garden, you have the chickens lay the eggs. Yeah.
So we have all.
So it's like you have like a whole freaking lifestyle going on. I love this.
So it is.
By the way, she brought me the best freaking eggs to our photo shoot that we just recently did. Tell them about your badass. What are they called? Bad bitch chicken?
Bad bitch chickens.
they lay some big old eggs,
my
girl.
Goodness. Like those shells will like mess you up. So,
you could use them as a weapon.
They really can.
I love it.
I try to break them. And I'm like,
it's intense.
Fight back.
Yeah. So lean protein, lots of veggies, a little bit of fruit.
A little bit of fruit.
Yeah. But you're not eating gluten. You're not really doing dairy, things like that.
I can tolerate dairy. So it really depends on, like, that's where the like the intuitive
Yeah.
part comes in
Yep.
because different people can tolerate different things. So,
And that's the thing too, is when people listen to someone like you and they're like, well, she said she eats lean protein and vegetables, so I'm going to do the same thing.
no, and
It's not a one size fits all.
no,
Because of how you like, where you live, what your lifestyle is, how your Lyme is presenting itself, right? So all these things come into play.
It definitely does. So, I can tolerate a little bit of dairy.
Yeah, just not ice cream, just not Ben and Jerry's.
I know.
It's delicious.
Every once in a while.
Yeah, of course. But also, I'm sure like you're like me, where you're like, okay, if I'm going to do ice cream, I'm going to get like organic ice cream that's like, you know,
like
try
actually,
it as much as you can.
Yeah,
you know,
just,
now if you're on vacation with your family and you're somewhere and you're like, fuck it, I'm going to have an ice cream cone.
And then I just know that I'm going to probably feel like crap after.
Yeah. And then you just clean it out, hydrate, do whatever. Right. Oh my gosh. Now, what about your exercise and things like that? Because has that obviously come back a lot?
It has. And I've actually, I'm having a little bit of a flare up now because I traveled.
Yes.
So I'm getting.
You were in Japan.
I was in Japan.
So dope.
So
now, because we had this conversation before, travel actually will exacerbate your Lyme sometimes.
It will.
Why is that for you?
It's just because it's like I have a pretty good routine, like just eating a certain way. Sleep is actually my like pillars of health that I call it.
Yeah, tell me.
Sleep, exercise, nutrition, and rest. So my sleep pillar is like my number one pillar.
Like so you're like, if you don't get good sleep, you're screwed.
Yeah, then that's like
I'm the same way.
Then nothing, then
these people that are like fucking sleep 3 hours a night. I'm like, who are you?
No, and I sleep between like 8 and 10 hours.
No, dude, same. And I don't have Lyme.
Yeah.
I if I don't get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, I'm like a shit bag.
Yeah.
So because I think, what we do, because we're both coaches, we put so much energy out every day that you need to, recalibrate yourself. And the only time that I can do that personally is when I sleep. Because I haven't quite made it to the place that you're at with like not beating myself up every day. Because like even yesterday, I like worked my ass off and I just sat on the couch for like 5 minutes just to rest. And in the back of my head was going, you're being lazy, get up, push yourself to go do like these 3 more things before you go to bed. And I'm like, okay, like I'm fucking brainwashed. But when I go to bed, that shuts off. So it's almost like the perfect escape for me to like recalibrate and rejuvenate myself. But yeah, sleep is everything. These people that are like, I only sleep 3 hours a night. I'm like, that's going to catch up to you. And as you know, we don't know what's actually physically on a cellular level happening to our body when we're not giving ourselves proper rest. And all the other things too, the hydration, nutrition, etc. But I think sleep is number one. I'm right there with you.
And so when I traveled, because I traveled to a place that's 13-hour time change.
Yeah, you're all screwed up.
So, and I even kept a watch on me to keep East Coast time.
Did you?
So I was up all night, and I did shift my time by 3 hours, which was
not terrible.
Not terrible.
But 13-hour time difference. Is a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It'll fuck you up. They say like every day that the chime is different, it takes like 1 day to get back to your old routine. So like if you go away to Japan for a sake of conversation and it's 13-hour time, it's going to take almost 2 weeks to recalibrate your body back. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
These people who travel all the time for work in all the different time zones, it must be mental.
Yeah.
Like you must
Their
be
body
like,
must be like, what?
Yeah, there's no circadian rhythm. There's no rhythm whatsoever. Wow. So. Okay, so then sleep is number one. Then food.
And for sleep, when I was a nurse, and I
shift work.
I did
always
shift
fun.
work.
Yeah.
I did the 12-hour overnight.
Oh,
so
nurses are the sickest individuals. I love all of my nurse friends out there, but y'all know, and y'all tell me that you guys they smoke cigarettes to get
a break.
A break.
Yeah.
Like all my friends that are nurses, I'm like, when the fuck did you start smoking? Oh, when I started working at the hospital. And I'm like, why? Like that's an oxymoron. Because if you don't smoke, you don't really get breaks.
No,
like the smokers.
No.
So you used to say though, you used to go out like with the girls who were smoking, but you just wouldn't smoke.
I'm like, I'm going for my fresh air break. They can go outside.
I love the fresh air break more than the cigarette break. That's awesome. And they eat terrible.
Oh,
they're all at the nurse's station eating candy and this thing and that thing.
It was
and
like the worst. Like just, and that played into my nutrition too, because I would work a 12-hour shift, and I worked in telemetry, which is cardiac floor. So it was busy all the time.
All the time.
And
you're not going to sit down and have like a chicken salad.
Oh, no.
No. It's like whatever you can pop in your mouth.
Whatever I can find that's left over from the cardiac conference.
Isn't that so wrong?
It really is.
It's so, we're living in like an alternate dimension of reality a lot of times.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what else? Hydration?
Hydration is key, just to keep the toxins, because Lyme disease, when it breaks down in your body, releases endotoxins.
Oh, so shit.
It is, so that happens a lot with people who are on antibiotic treatments, because they'll have a Herxheimer reaction.
Yeah.
So they'll Herx, and they'll actually feel, and I've gone through that as well with some of the treatments that I've done, where the Lyme bacteria breaks down, releases these endotoxins into your bloodstream, and then your blood gets very acidotic.
Wow.
So you get it feels like I'm at times like I'm being poisoned. So
auto intoxication. Wow.
So,
and as you know, as a health professional, no sickness, illness, and disease can live in an alkaline state. So you always want to be alkalizing your body with water, with vegetables, with like what you're putting, sleep, all that kind of stuff, sweating, right? Everything like that. I actually, I'm going to fill you in on like what a creep I am. I pee on every day. I pee on a little paper first thing in the morning, like after I have water and stuff like that, to see like where I am on the acid alkaline scale. Yeah. And if I am going into an acidic state, I'll do things that day to bring myself back into an alkaline state. And I always notice that when I don't, like, you go on vacation, you're drinking wine, you're eating, whatever. When I come home, because I don't usually bring the papers with me, when I come home, I'm like through the roof acidosis. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it takes a couple days to get yourself back normalized, but people don't realize that your body has to have that pH balance.
It does, yeah.
Or that's when you get sick.
Homeostasis. That's where your body wants to be.
You know how everyone says like, oh, flu season's right around the corner. It's like, bitch, it's not flu season. It's called Halloween candy season into Thanksgiving season, into Christmas season, into New Year's season.
Overindulgence season.
100%. You're just drinking and eating like assholes. Yeah. You're surrounding yourself with people that you don't even probably like, aka your family members at Christmas, right? Like I don't even do it anymore. That's why I don't get sick. And when I do get sick, it's usually when I am like running myself ragged, eating like an asshole, drinking alcohol, and then doing way too much. Cause I'm like you, I'm an introvert, even though people think that we're extroverts because we're fun. Yeah. But we're fun and extrovert around the people who we trust and who we love and things like that. But if you said to me, hey, Katie, you want to go out to a party, or you want to stay home and like under a heated blanket and like watch Netflix and like, have some bone broth, I'd be like, bone broth, please. Yes. You're the same way as me. Yeah. Same way. Oh my gosh. Okay. So your pillars of health, anything else you want to touch upon there?
So they have a specific order for me, and this is different for everyone. Tell me. So definitely sleep is number one.
Okay. Number one, sleep.
Nutrition is a close second.
Yeah.
Rest is third. Yes. And rest and sleep.
What does rest mean to you though? Because I need some, give me some advice on that.
Rest is like the time that you're rejuvenating. So it's not sitting on the couch for me. Right. For me.
Yeah. What is rest for you like?
Rest for me is actually walking through the woods.
So getting in nature.
It's active. You don't think of that as rest, but anything that reduces your stress level. So anything that will trigger that, that relaxation response in your body. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be being immobile.
Even though I do love a good immobility.
I definitely do.
But I love that. I love the idea of nature because I'm a nature girl too, but like grounding, getting by the ocean, going into the woods, hug a tree.
Throwing your phone across the wherever.
Girl. Yeah. The phone, I think, even though it's a necessary evil in this day and age, especially like we're coaches, right? So everything we do is like from a virtual place. I think that is one of the biggest stressors because, the phone can touch you anywhere. At least like back in the day before we had phone. Like I was talking to someone the other day. It's like in the 80s, you'd like leave your home. You may never come back. And no one can ever find you unless you call from a payphone from like a Cumberland Farms or something like that.
With the dime that you hid in your shoe.
With the dime, literally.
For an emergency.
Those were the days, man. We were so fucking free and we didn't even know how free we were. And now it's like, the other day someone was trying to get in touch with me. They went on my app and inboxed me, DM'd me. They WhatsApped me. They Instagrammed me. They Facebooked me. They TikToked me. And then they emailed me. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christmas. Like, I'm going to get back to you. Like, maybe I'm taking a shit. Like, get off my jock. But this is what people just think. Like, it's that instant gratification. Like, people can just, and I think that for me, that's the equivalent of like thousands of years ago being chased by like an animal in the wilderness, that fight or flight response. For me, the phone is my fight or flight response. Are you the same way? Oh my God. And that also exacerbates any kind of illness, sickness, and disease too, because you get into that fight or flight.
Hear the bing bang, and it's like, oh no.
I'm the same way. Yes. The bing and the dings and the dongs are now like the saber-toothed tiger chasing you in the wilderness, and you're a cave woman. Yeah. So we have to protect ourselves from those things too. And that's probably not rest. That's another thing too, is people think rest is sitting on the couch watching TikToks endlessly.
Yeah. And
that's not good for you.
No.
It's actually the opposite.
It is. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So the resting is whatever makes you feel alive.
Yep.
So getting out in nature,
reducing stress.
Yeah. Okay. So that could be sound healing. It could be breath work. It could be meditation. It could be, having an afternoon delight with some dude you're banging. Yeah. Whatever you're into. And then what?
And then exercise. So that is my fourth. And that is the one that will fluctuate because it depends on my energy level.
Right.
And so I'm always exercising to some extent. And, but lately I've been able to like get to the gym and, do
lift weights
and actually it's made a big difference in strengthening my body.
Of course.
So, but that's the thing that if I usually work out early in the morning, so my sleep is going to take priority over exercise.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. So,
and I also think that many women that I've worked with, over the years, because I started my company as a personal trainer and nutritionist, I think that for me, if I wasn't feeling well back in the day, I would force myself. Like I remember being on a treadmill with like 103 fever.
Yeah, you just push.
But just be like, I have a competition or I'm doing something, I have to look a certain way. And now I'm like, give me a break. But now I exercise because I know, I'm 43 and you're
51.
Like, dude, we have to like wait to. This bitch is not 51. I think you're lying to me. I want your birth certificate. Yeah.
And I'm a grandmother now. So.
It's crazy. Isn't it crazy? Yeah, it's wild to me. But that's the thing is like we kind of grew up in the same era where everything was like fat-free food and you did your like little workouts and your little step aerobic stuff and
you counted your points or whatever.
Girl, yes. All of that. I used to weigh every morsel of food that went in my mouth. And so now I equate exercise almost as like a punishment. And I'm trying to like rewire my brain to be like, no, this is actually going to strengthen you because now you're over 40. And then, as you start losing muscle and bone. And, I don't want to be one of those old ladies pushing their cart around Market Basket all hunched over with their friggin', fancy feast and their Wonder Bread and their, I see those little people and they're all hunched over. And I'm like, dude, you never lifted a weight in your damn life. Yeah. Because it wasn't a thing back then.
It wasn't.
It's
not a priority either.
But what you're saying is if you're not feeling your best self, don't push yourself to, especially when you have Lyme, because it will just deplete you further.
It's just going to take the energy. So for people with Lyme disease, it's, I think one of the hard things for people to kind of conceptualize is that it's basically, I have a certain amount of energy in a day, so I can, and I used to be able to, before I had Lyme, I'd be able to push and I can no longer push.
Yeah. And why should we?
Yeah.
We got to be like, you've inspired me too, just to like be easier on myself, because we are our own worst enemies, honestly. So I want to talk a little bit for the people out there who maybe haven't been feeling so great because Lyme is not just in this country because we're in the United States, but it's all over the world now in Europe as well. You were telling me.
It is. And it really, when you think of Lyme disease, I know a lot of people, when they think of Lyme, they think of it as like a northeastern United States problem. And the type of black-legged tick that carries Lyme disease on the East Coast covers the entire East Coast,
Okay.
all the way almost to the Midwest. So it's traveling. So we happen to live in New Hampshire, so we're kind of in the hotbed of Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm.
And it was extremely hard for me to actually get a diagnosis here,
Which is wild.
which is crazy.
So can you imagine if you're in the
If
middle
you're
of
like-
America and you're like, I don't feel well.
Yeah.
They're
Like
like,
if you're
shut up.
Florida,
Yeah.
Arkansas, you know,
Honestly.
how hard is it to get a diagnosis there?
And you said there's also a tick
Yeah.
on the
So there's-
on the West Coast.
On the West Coast as well. So
They're
there's
similar,
another-
but they're called
they
different
are.
genus
They're,
names.
Ixodes scapularis for the East Coast and Ixodes pacifica for the West Coast.
And they look similar.
They are. They're all black-legged ticks. So the Ixodes are all black-legged ticks. And on the East Coast, we tend to call them deer ticks,
Mhm.
or I think on the West Coast they call them like bear ticks or something.
Okay.
And
Because they're mostly found on deer.
they are actually in the East Coast. The deer ticks are actually their preferred host are mice.
No
So
shit.
the white footed mouse on
Really?
the East Coast. So that's where a lot of the ticks are
Interesting.
carried around from.
Wow.
Like that's their preferred.
So for people out, no matter where you are, wherever there is Lyme,
Mhm.
what are some of the signs that you can tell us? Because obviously you're a coach on this.
Mhm.
What are some of the signs that come up for people? Like, what do they feel like? How does Lyme present?
So Lyme presents differently for
In
a lot
everyone.
of people.
Okay.
But in early Lyme, there are a lot of similarities.
Mm-hmm.
So it is almost like what I described before is the summer virus.
Yeah.
Like
you're feeling a little iffy.
Yeah.
Feeling a little under
And
the
for
weather.
me, it was kind of profound because I went from standing in my kitchen to being in my bed and not being able
Yeah.
to move.
Yes.
So definitely
Complete exhaustion.
exhaustion, fatigue, and
Lethargy.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I've described the fatigue that you feel with Lyme disease as almost like crushing. Like you just feel like your body is being weighted down and crushed. And I also, one of the symptoms is headache. And the headache type that I've experienced is more of like a band around my head.
So
And
it's like
then-
someone put a band around your head and it's just
It's just
tightening it.
Mhm.
Okay.
You can get neck pain,
Mm-hmm.
and they call it like the Lyme disease shrug because it makes you feel like you want to pull your shoulders up.
Oh my God, really?
Mhm.
Shit.
So yeah.
Wow. So it doesn't just have to be this red bullseye. That's, and like you
No,
said, it
that's-
only is 50% of the
Yeah, and
population.
that's even if you see it, like you might actually have it on your body and you might not even see it.
Damn.
So
Soreness in your joints.
definitely soreness in your joints. It's very, I've actually had swelling in my joints.
Mm.
So I've had my knees swell
Like your
up.
knuckles will get all big.
It's usually your bigger joints.
Okay.
So your knees are a good target
Yeah,
for Lyme disease.
elbows.
Elbows, shoulders, hips, definitely.
Okay.
So if you have like a lot of pain in your joints,
Out of nowhere.
I don't know.
Like you're fine and all of a sudden you're like,
it's
fuck.
what's going on?
But you think I'm just getting old.
Yeah. I mean, but it comes out like for me, it came on very, very fast.
Yeah. So it was like 0 to 100.
yeah. So it was, I had the headache, I had the neck pain, I had the joint pain,
Yeah.
the crushing fatigue, I had low grade fever.
You were also talking to me before about like neurological stuff,
Mhm.
right? And you were also talking about children who have Lyme,
Yes.
how it presents. So
it's
neurological can present both in children and in adults.
in adults. And I do have chronic neurological Lyme disease.
So what
because
happens? What do you get brain fog?
I get brain fog
You forget your words.
all the time. I'm surprised that I've done so
You're
well
fucking
on this,
killing it, girl.
on this podcast.
You're fucking schooling me, babe. I'm the podcaster.
Oh,
You're doing awesome.
So, yeah. So I do lose words. I do lose my train of thought. I'll, go into a room and, forget.
You're like, what the fuck did I?
Why am I here? Like
And so most people will hear you say that and go, yeah, that's
it.
me every day.
every day. Yeah.
But maybe you have
maybe,
Lyme
maybe.
and you don't even realize it.
Mhm.
Wow. And then what about children? How does it neurologically present? Because you were talking about behavioral stuff,
so
right?
There's PANS or PANDAS that happens in children. So, and this can happen with Lyme disease, but also like a strep infection, any kind of bacterial infection. It can present neurologically,
Mhm.
and they can have a lot of psychiatric symptoms.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to see these symptoms present in children and then be able to trace it back to Lyme disease because Lyme disease is so hard to trace in the
Right.
first place.
Right. So these kids will have these behavioral kind of outbursts.
Yeah, they
And
can
then
have,
they'll
like-
bring them to the doctor. And the doctor said, your kid has ADHD or your kid has
OCD
depression or OCD or
or
whatever. Let's put
something.
them on a SSRI or let's put them on some kind of a medication.
Yeah. And it's usually a profound shift in the kids too. It's going from a child that's, just typical.
Normal, typical kid
Yep.
to like terror.
What is going on?
Wow. And you wouldn't even think that it's Lyme.
No.
You just think like, oh, my kid's being a little asshole or there's something going
or like
on.
something like.
And they just put them on medication. So think of how many children, or even people in general, but children are misdiagnosed with some kind of behavioral disorder and they're put on whatever kind of medication and they're totally misdiagnosed.
So they're not treating the root cause.
And then it just exacerbates over time,
and
right?
Then it just gets deeper and deeper into your body, and then it's harder to recover from.
Wow. So what do you think? Because obviously you do this now for a living. You're a coach.
Yes.
Full time. So what do you think from a coach's perspective that people should do? Should they find someone like you? Because obviously I'm, biased because I love you so much and you help so many people. But what would you say is the biggest thing that people need? Is it support? Is it understanding? Is it education? Is it all the above?
I think it's all of the above. And for me, during my Lyme journey, I didn't travel this road alone either. After I was discharged from the hospital and I was really at my low point, I started to find people that could help me. And I had much more strict boundaries around what I was willing to tolerate as far as how people approached my illness. And so I really sought out people that were supportive.
Yes.
And could provide answers and could help me on my path.
Right.
So as a Lyme disease health coach, my purpose is really to be like the conduit between, being there to support people because I've walked the journey.
Yeah.
And I know exactly, how lonely and frustrating and painful it can be. So I can help people in that capacity as being a support, but also to be a resource. So I can help people find other people that can help them.
That's awesome.
I have used naturopathic practitioners, holistic practitioners. I've also used some allopathic remedies, which is just the prescribed medication, to get to where I am today. A lot of it was just my own drive and my own determination to get better, and so I could live my life the way I wanted to live it, and not be a slave to this disease.
Because most people they just give up and they say, this is just how it is. And I'm always going to be like this. Bye.
Yeah. So, and that wasn't an option for me.
And you have an app. So,
I do.
So the people that want to work with you can work with you through this app.
Through the app.
Yeah.
So I am on Monday and Wednesday nights.
Yep.
And right now I just do education and kind of, whatever topic I think would be helpful for the group.
Right.
And, but it is like a group coaching platform.
And it's also a great community of other people that are going through
the
same things as you. Because I think that, in any kind of sickness, illness, and disease, no matter if it's Lyme or cancer or whatever, you kind of feel alone.
You definitely do. And in Lyme disease, I think that was one of the physical manifestations were hard. But I think the loneliness and just the lack of validation were even harder.
That's exciting. So you go live, you educate, you entertain, you empower them, you motivate them, you give them all kinds of different ideas of how they can work on their own healing journey.
Yes.
And then you also have resources in the app as well that they can go and learn stuff on their own, which is awesome.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
So, and then I also have practitioners that I've worked with in the past that, if I do have someone contact me as a coach, and I think that they would benefit from
working with this person,
with somebody that does more homeopathic, naturopathic versus I work with a doctor that does kind of a combination of both, and I actually had very good results.
That's cool.
From that.
I love that. I love when they're like both sides of the fence. It's wonderful.
She really gave me the option, if I wanted to go a more allopathic route versus a homeopathic route. And so she was very accommodating. She was really the first practitioner that I dealt with that actually just listened.
That's awesome.
Which that's
sometimes you
exactly
just need
what
that.
I just needed some validation, and I needed someone just to listen.
Yeah. It's the worst when you go into a doctor's office and you're like trying to tell them and they're like, yeah. And then they just give you a script. You're like, fuck, thanks for nothing. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
do you have any like words of wisdom before we wrap today to the people out there that maybe have Lyme or maybe don't and have a lot of the symptoms that you were just stating before? Like, what is the next step for them?
I think the one thing that I can say is that trust your body, because your body knows much more.
Oh yeah, baby.
It's very wise.
It's very wise.
You know, it will tell you when there's a problem. It communicates to you in millions of different ways during the day. And you know, if you can listen to that and trust that, then that will help you to regain your life.
We as women, I think, just need to get our intuition back. It's there. It's just, we just put it on the back burner for a really long time, for hundreds of years, actually, you know, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you, and you're going to help so many people, and you already have helped so many people. And I'm just so excited for the ladies out there in Ambitchious land to listen to this podcast. And then how can they connect with you? So in our show notes, I'm going to have the link so that they can join. You have a 7-day free trial for your app. And then you do most of your work outside of your app on Instagram, correct? Instagram.
And I really use Instagram as a platform to educate in general about Lyme disease, about early detection and prevention, because that is really the key to Lyme disease, is to catch it early.
Yeah.
And even just to prevent the ticks from even being on you. But if you do get a tick bite, then to treat it right away, because that will make all of the difference. It will.
If you knew what you knew now, then would you have allowed the doctor to poo-poo you and not give you those antibiotics?
Oh, yeah.
You had been like, bitch, get your fucking notepad out and write me this damn script. But you know, when you're just going through something, you're like, well, this is the doctor and they're smarter than me. They know better.
Yeah.
They don't always.
And the problem that I was having early on too, with my symptoms being so severe, is I didn't have the energy to fight. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't have it in me. It took me all of my strength just to get there, and then to have to fight. It was just,
there was not enough gas in your tank to get there.
No.
What's your Instagram handle?
It is at September Farm NH.
So New Hampshire.
Yep. So September Farm NH.
And all that will be in the show notes.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in working, do the 7-day free trial in the app. You will not regret it. It's going to be an incredible opportunity for you. And follow her on Instagram, because you do have the best Instagrams.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. I love watching your reels and your chickens, and you can see your farm, and you really do educate so much on there. And I know that, you know, we're at that age where we don't really like social media that much, but it's a great platform when you're using it for the right reasons, which is awesome.
I agree.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you.
This is amazing. You taught me so much today.
Oh,
like so much. All right, guys, listen, if you know anyone out there that's dealing with some of these symptoms, please share this out to as many people as you can. And in the meantime, don't forget to stay ambitious, and I will see you next Tuesday.